Just trying to fight, and then somehow I was able to turn around things, and I think that game gave me like an extra boost of energy and then belief that I can still win this set, and I did.
She's back in the... She's missed it.
It wasn't just another tennis match. What happened between Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka at the WTA Finals left fans speechless and furious. Cameras caught the moment Sabalenka turned toward Coco after a crucial point, laughing and gesturing in a way that many saw as flat-out disrespect. The crowd gasped, but Coco's reaction was even more powerful, calm, focused, and quietly intense. She didn't explode. She didn't argue. Instead, she let her silence speak louder than Sabalenka's mockery. But after the match, Coco finally went off, and what she said sent shockwaves through the entire tennis world. Because this wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about respect, sportsmanship, and crossing a line that no one expected at this level of the game. And as replays spread across social media, fans everywhere started asking the same question: did Aryna Sabalenka go too far this time?
In like however many years, it definitely takes the pressure off. And honestly, I think, it's a reason. You're playing the top 8 in the world. This round-robin format is...
This wasn't just any matchup. This was the showdown everyone had been waiting for. The WTA Finals had already been filled with drama. But when Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka stepped onto that court, it felt personal. The air was tense. Fans knew the history. Coco's stunning victory over Sabalenka at the US Open had not only broken hearts in Sabalenka's camp, but also exposed cracks in her composure. Ever since that defeat, Sabalenka had been waiting for this rematch, and you could see it in her eyes. She wanted revenge. But for Coco, it was different. She wasn't chasing revenge. She was defending her reputation, her composure, and the respect she'd earned through grit and discipline. From the very first serve, this felt like more than tennis. Every swing, every look, every reaction carried weight. The crowd wasn't just watching a game. They were witnessing a clash of personalities, confidence, and pride. And while Coco stayed locked in on the ball, Sabalenka seemed to have something else in mind, a mental game that was just beginning to unfold. From the very first set, it became clear, Sabalenka wasn't just playing to win. She was playing to rattle. Every time she scored a point, her reaction was louder, more exaggerated, and intentionally directed toward Coco's side of the court.
She's back in the set.
The fist pumps, the yells, the smirks. They weren't just confidence, they were messages, mocking ones. Commentators noticed it. Fans noticed it. Even Coco's camp exchanged looks, as Sabalenka's celebrations started feeling more like taunts than triumphs. At one point, Sabalenka let out an aggressive shout right after Coco's unforced error, then turned toward her box laughing. As if victory wasn't enough, humiliation had to be part of it. The tension built with every serve. The crowd started murmuring. Some cheered for the spectacle, but others were uncomfortable, because this didn't look like two athletes pushing each other to their limits. It looked like one athlete trying to push the other off balance emotionally. And when the umpire ignored the rising tension, Sabalenka took it as permission. Her volume grew, her gestures got bolder, and her attitude only intensified.
Right now, we care about the player. The player is always right, and that's the bottom line, and that's the only thing you have to worry about.
But if she thought Coco was going to break, she was wrong. Because what came next proved that Coco wasn't just a player. She was a force of composure. What separates Coco Gauff from almost every player on tour isn't just her explosive athleticism. It's her ability to remain composed when the pressure becomes unbearable. As Sabalenka's mocking laughter and over-the-top celebrations echoed across the court, Coco didn't bite. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't clap back. She simply reset, stared down the baseline, and prepared for the next serve. That calm, almost unshakable presence wasn't weakness. It was control.
In the first set, I don't know what I did there, honestly. Like, some of the points were just wow. And then in the second set, she turned it around and she were able to, like...
For most players, That kind of in-your-face behavior from an opponent would have sparked a reaction. But Coco, she turned it into focus. She played with quiet fury. Her footwork sharpened, her serves grew crisper, and her eyes locked in with a laser-like determination. Every time Sabalenka tried to get in her head, Coco answered with clean, fearless shot-making. It was like watching fire meet ice, one fueled by chaos, the other by composure. And then came the post-match moment that had everyone talking. When reporters brought up Sabalenka's antics, Coco didn't flinch. She simply said, "I'm not here to play mind games, I'm here to play tennis." No raised voice, no sarcasm, just pure confidence. That line hit harder than any comeback on the court. Within minutes, it was trending across social media, with fans calling it the most mature clapback they'd ever heard. Commentators praised her class, former players voiced their support, and fans flooded timelines with one message: Coco doesn't need to mock, she lets her game speak for her. But behind the scenes, tensions were still brewing. Cameras caught subtle glances and body language that suggested this wasn't over, not by a long shot. And what unfolded backstage would turn this quiet rivalry into one of the most talked about storylines in women's tennis. After the match, the tension didn't stop when the final handshake ended. It only shifted behind the curtain. Cameras caught glimpses of the two passing each other in the hallway, with Sabalenka's usual smirk fading into a tight, unbothered grin. Coco, meanwhile, walked past without a glance, holding her head high. No words exchanged, no eye contact, just silence. But it spoke volumes. Moments later, footage surfaced online, showing Sabalenka celebrating with her team backstage, laughing and shouting as if she had silenced her critics. Some clips even showed her mimicking Coco's on-court expressions, which fans quickly labeled as mockery caught on camera. Within hours, those short clips exploded across social media, sparking heated debates. Hashtags like #TeamCoco and #RespectTheGame started trending, with thousands calling out Sabalenka's lack of sportsmanship. Sports journalists began weighing in, noting that while Sabalenka's aggression was nothing new, this particular match crossed a line. Even some of her own supporters admitted that her antics had overshadowed the victory. Meanwhile, Coco's calm demeanor, both during and after the match, won over millions. Clips of her interview spread everywhere, racking up views as fans praised her maturity and restraint. And just when people thought the story might fade, Sabalenka's camp made things worse. Her coach and performance team began defending her behavior publicly, claiming that Coco couldn't handle the pressure and that Sabalenka was simply showing emotion. But their attempt to defend her only added fuel to the fire, because for many, this wasn't about emotion anymore. It was about respect. And Coco's silence, that quiet refusal to engage in the drama, only made her look stronger. But Sabalenka's team wasn't done. What they said next turned the backlash into a full-blown storm. When the backlash hit full force, Sabalenka's camp scrambled to respond. Reporters pressed her for answers about the mocking gestures, the shouting, and the clips that fans were dissecting online. Instead of de-escalating the situation, Sabalenka doubled down. She brushed off the criticism, saying it was all part of her competitive fire, that she was simply expressing passion, and that people were reading too much into it. But that explanation didn't sit well with most viewers. Fans argued that there's a difference between playing with intensity and intentionally disrespecting your opponent. Social media lit up with split opinions, some defending Sabalenka's right to show emotion, while others called her response tone-deaf and arrogant. The most liked comment under one viral clip read, "There's a fine line between passion and pettiness, and she just crossed it." Her coach didn't help either. In a post-match interview, he claimed Sabalenka's behavior was misunderstood, and even suggested that Coco had overreacted to normal in-game energy. That statement set off another wave of outrage. Former players jumped in, saying that professionalism matters just as much as skill. One commentator summed it up perfectly: "You can be fierce without being disrespectful." Meanwhile, Coco stayed quiet. No fiery tweets, no interviews throwing shade. Her silence was powerful. It made Sabalenka's words sound even more defensive. Fans saw through the excuses. They weren't just reacting to the behavior on the court, they were responding to what it represented: ego over empathy, pride over sportsmanship. And as this controversy grew beyond tennis circles, the conversation shifted. People started asking a bigger question: what does true sportsmanship really look like? And that's when everyone began to realize that this wasn't just about two athletes. It was about two mindsets colliding on one of the sport's biggest stages. In the days that followed, the story became bigger than a single match. It became a mirror reflecting two very different worlds of competition. On one side stood Coco Gauff, calm, confident, and unshaken by the noise. On the other was Aryna Sabalenka, fiery, emotional, and often teetering on the edge of control. Their rivalry wasn't just athletic, it was philosophical. It asked a question that went far beyond tennis. What truly defines greatness? Raw intensity, or composure under fire? Fans began comparing their careers, their temperaments, even their interviews. Coco's supporters pointed out her poise at just 20 years old, a player who never needed drama to dominate headlines. Meanwhile, critics of Sabalenka said her explosive reactions often overshadowed her achievements, turning moments of victory into debates about attitude. It wasn't the first time either. Tennis historians reminded everyone of Sabalenka's past outbursts, broken rackets, heated confrontations, emotional pressers. They contrasted that with Coco's pattern of discipline, grace, and leadership, traits that many said reminded them of legends like Serena Williams in her prime. Commentators began calling it a clash between class and chaos. Sabalenka played like a storm, unpredictable, emotional, and destructive. Coco played like the eye of that storm, steady, focused, and unbothered. And that's what made this rivalry so captivating. One was trying to shake the other, and the other was simply too grounded to move. But when the final points were played and the dust settled, the crowd made their choice clear. The applause, the chants, the emotion in the stands, they weren't for the winner on paper. They were for the player who carried herself like a true champion. And as the camera zoomed in on Coco walking off the court with her head held high, fans around the world knew exactly who had earned their respect, even if she didn't take home the trophy. When the final point landed and Sabalenka lifted her arms in victory, the scoreline told one story, but the reaction in the arena told another. As the cheers faded, all eyes were on Coco Gauff. She walked toward the net with quiet dignity, shook Sabalenka's hand without hesitation, and gave a polite nod before turning away. No bitterness, no drama, just grace. And that's what people remembered most. While Sabalenka's victory was supposed to be her redemption after the US Open loss, it didn't feel like triumph. The energy was off. Instead of celebrating a hard-fought win, she was surrounded by whispers, fans questioning her sportsmanship, commentators debating her mindset, and journalists writing about everything but her performance. Coco, on the other hand, walked off the court to a standing ovation. The crowd didn't cheer for a scoreboard, they cheered for character. Clips of her post-match composure spread everywhere, with fans calling her the real winner of the night. Even players from other tournaments chimed in online, praising Coco for holding her head high when others wouldn't. And that's the irony. In a match filled with noise, Coco's silence made the loudest impact. She reminded the world that greatness isn't measured by how loudly you celebrate, but by how you carry yourself when others try to drag you down. She may not have lifted the trophy, but she walked away with something Sabalenka didn't: the admiration of millions, and the moral victory that will echo far beyond the WTA Finals. So tell me, who do you think really won that night? Was it the player who claimed the match, or the one who showed the world what true sportsmanship looks like? At the end of the day, this match was about more than tennis. It was about values. Coco Gauff showed that you don't need arrogance or theatrics to make a statement. Her game, her discipline, and her calm under pressure said everything. And that's exactly why fans everywhere are calling her the true winner of the WTA Finals. But what about you? Do you think Aryna Sabalenka's antics were just part of her competitive edge? Or did she cross the line? Was Coco's calm the sign of a mature champion? Or should she have called Sabalenka out more directly? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because this rivalry is far from over. If you respect Coco's composure and believe she handled the situation like a true pro, drop a or Team Coco in the comments. And if you want to stay updated as this story continues to unfold, from behind-the-scenes reactions to what the next matchup could look like, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because trust me, the next time these two meet, it won't just be a tennis match, it'll be personal.